Can you please call the roll?
Chairman de Palma.
Here.
Senator Seveny.
Here.
Senator Coleman. Senator Coleman.
Here.
Thanks. Senator Acosta.
Present.
Senator Archambault. I believe is in Judd. Senator de Cruz.
Here.
Senator Lombardo.
Here.
Leader McCaffrey.
Here.
President Ruggiero.
Present.
There are 9 members present. There is a quorum.
Thank you, Jamie. Much appreciated.
Well, I'm sorry, I don't know if you heard me, but I'm here.
Senator Archambault, thank you very much for joining us. We got Senator Archambault. Jamie, thank you. At this time, I'd like to, on the agenda tonight, we have Senate Bill 336. I'd like to entertain a motion to indefinitely postpone Senate Resolution 336 and bring before the committee Senate Resolution or Senate Bill 336 Substitute A. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion made by Senator Seveny, seconded by Senator Archambault.
Second.
I'll second it also.
Seconded by the Senate President and Leader McCaffrey. Jamie, can we call the roll?
Chairman de Palma.
Aye.
Senator Seveny.
Aye.
Senator Coleman.
Aye.
Senator Acosta. Senator Archambault. Senator de Cruz.
Yes.
Senator Lombardo.
Yes.
Leader McCaffrey.
Yes.
President Ruggiero.
Yes.
9 in favor, 0 opposed.
Thank you, Jamie. Much appreciated. So I want to thank everyone for the hearing we had a couple weeks ago. What I'd like to be able to do is describe the major changes that are in Senate Bill 336 Substitute A. Hope everybody has been able to have an opportunity to review the changes. The first change I'd like to call your attention to in order of shown in the bill. The first change I believe you'll see on page 12 of 30. The first change is section 5.8. And 5.8 talks to lines 25 through 27. So I'd like to go through them first, and then we can go through and have any questions or comments after that. As it says, oaths administered in committee. In the discretion of the chair, any witness may, before testifying, be required to declare that they will testify truthfully by oath or affirmation. I know in talking to some of the members of the committee, some feedback we received, there's been some concern, consternation with regards to how the public might perceive this, or concerns by the public with regards to testifying under oath. As the language calls out, and I'd like to go through the parts specifically, at the discretion of the chair, any witness may, it does not say shall, before testifying be required to declare that they will testify truthfully by oath or affirmation. It's the expectation of this body that all who testify before a committee testify truthfully when they testify before committee. So this is permissive, it's enabling, it's not required, but it would provide the Senate committees, the chair of the committee, with the discretion of the chair, she or he, to ask a particular witness to testify under oath, be required to testify under oath prior to bringing forth their testimony. It's not meant to scare or deter anyone. In fact, it's just to ensure and confirm or affirm that when folks, and we believe everyone who testifies is testifying under oath. So let's move forward from there. I want to go to the next change, and we'll come back. So we'll all be appreciative of the next major change that you'll see in the bill. And I ask you to move forward to the next major change is on page 26, and it is section 10.7.2. So I'll give you a few minutes to get there. You may have it already bookmarked. I have the hard copy, but I'm also trying to make sure I have my electronic version here as well. So 10.7.2 talks to remote committee hearings, of which we are exemplifying right now, and of which we've been operating under for, in fact, today's the 15th of March, 2.5 months. So as it talks to here, during any declared state of emergency, and while the Senate is in session, a committee chairperson, with the permission of the presiding officer, may schedule a remote hearing of the committee in which they serve as chairperson for the purpose of hearing and or considering, which we're doing tonight, any matter that has been assigned to the committee. Unless otherwise provided for, the chairperson or vice chairperson of the committee shall ensure that all requirements of Section 6 of the rules are complied with, and this rule shall be construed to allow for both remote and in-person/remote participation. Obviously, we're seeing that tonight, both in-person and remote by the committee. Those are the two substantive changes that are in the rules. There are some other changes that are here as well, but I'll say they're more technical in nature, moving things around based on some comments and concerns and questions that were raised at the previous hearing. With that, I'll open it up for any questions or comments. Senator Acosta.
Mr. Chair, just two quick things. One, can I be recorded as nay in the vote? The secretary had reported 9 in the affirmative, and I believe I voted nay. And the second is,
Senator, just if I can make certain, nay on the sub A or nay on, okay, we'll be appropriately recorded, thank you. It won't change any outcome.
can you explain the format for this? Are we going to go point by point with the changes, or do you want us to just jump in?
We're just gonna, I'd like to go around, so if you have a question or a comment, if you could bring that forward, and I'd like to go round robin to others, so.
All right, perfect. So just going back to 5.8, given the feedback that we got and the potential that this may deter members of the public and the intention that was expressed during our last meeting about why we want to have certain people testify under oath, why not consider an amendment that says state and municipal employees or public employees testifying before a committee may be asked, rather than saying anybody can be asked?
Senator, great question. That was deliberated and discussed, and let me give you a couple of examples. And I'm not saying this from the perspective of having been here for a little bit, but I have to talk about it from the perspective of having seen some of the, and been witness and party to some of the hearings we've had over the years. And obviously, the Senate President, the Majority Leader, and the Whip can talk about this for many more decades than just my, and Senator Chacon for my 13 years of being here. So we did hear, and we thought about restricting it to agency heads and quasi-public. I know you mentioned about municipal officials as well. So let's assume we include them in the list as well. We have many hearings where we have individuals come to testify. Some we call in the case of Oversight. Some we call in the case of other committees because of the particular topic we want them to address. Probably more from an oversight perspective than anything else. But in various committees we've heard this. And so I'll bring up 4 or 5 topics that we've had discussion on over time that it may have been appropriate to have, or even going forward, having, and I'm going to give you at least 3, having witness testify. So we had a contract, successful now, because it completed, cost overrun a little bit, but our value is probably 30 cents on the dollar. We paid 30 cents, the vendor paid 70 cents. That particular system is the Rhode Island Motor Vehicle System, called RIMS. That began under Governor Kucheri's administration in 2009, 2010, all the way through Governor Chafee's administration, 4 more years. It took to the 3rd or 4th year of Governor Raimondo's administration to get complete. During that time, There were 3 contractors that were basically the same contractor, just got acquired by the other one. We would have wanted to have them come in and testify under oath. They're not included in agency heads, quasi-public heads, or municipal. Break on that topic for a minute. We had a contract for non-emergency medical transportation. I'm sure you may have folks in, this is a current one now. The RIM system is pretty much done. I'm sure you may have constituents in your district. I know several of us had over the years, where the non-emergency medical transportation provider, the one we currently have, the one we previously had, we've had some challenges with. And the states addressed those challenges by modifying the contract, putting some damages in there, and some performance-based things associated with that, as I recall. To the tune, I think we've recouped some money, and there's some other contingencies in there. If we limit it to that, we wouldn't necessarily be able to bring those folks in as well. Okay, let's break to the next topic of the, and it's all going to be sort of with IT, but it's not all IT, because the first one was IT, the second one was a service that thousands of, probably hundreds of thousands of constituents use, some maybe every other day for dialysis, to go to dialysis appointments. The third area is associated with the Unified Health Infrastructure Project, also known as Rhode Island Bridges. We are spending in the neighborhood of 10 to 15 cents, probably, maybe 12, of every dollar of general revenues. It was about a 90-10 match for the most of the contracts, some's a little less. But think about it somewhere in that vicinity. It's all taxpayer money. We're talking to the tune of several $100 million. Expect we'll have some type of a discussion on that this year. We have at least one every year. Yet another instance where it's members, not of the administration, not a quasi-public, not a municipal official or public official from a municipality, that we'd want to have feedback from. Those wouldn't be included as well. When you look at the totality of that, to try and carve that out and say, okay, got it, I know what we're looking at, okay, maybe we're going to put that over here and we're going to do it. Anybody who has a contract with the state over X amount of money. Well, what about if it's $1 less than that? So you very quickly get to the situation where it's the discretion, and I read some of the feedback, I haven't read all of it. I think I only saw 1 or 2 emails about that. Some just came in this morning, I think, so working during the day, it's hard to catch up on emails. I usually do emails before midnight at night, every day. But in looking at that, the challenge we have is, if you start, like other things in rules and bylaws and things that govern bodies of operation, when you start to get to specific and say, it's got to be this, or not this, or not that, or not that, or not that, the fifth one comes about, and now well, it doesn't say that, so you can't do it. We have to go change the rules. So that's the rationale for why it is as broad as it is. It's not to deter, it's not to scare, our expectation is, just like senators, we hold ourselves to a higher standard. We're speaking truthfully on a topic. We expect everyone else to. And it will be incumbent upon the chair at she or his discretion to determine that. That's the rationale behind it. So, other questions, comments from the committee? Other topics before we go? I think Senator Acosta may have another. Senator Acosta.
So staying on this, and thank you, Chairman, for entertaining this. What about making it so that folks that we invite to testify may be subject to this, right? Because again, what I'm trying to get at is, if members of the public might feel intimidated, they might not come out and speak. The folks that you mentioned, absolutely, I hear what you're saying. I mean, powerful people may lie, and that's what we're trying to avoid. So recognizing that, if you are brought before, if you are asked, and the examples you laid out all have to do with state taxpayer dollars. So if you are invited by a committee to speak, then you may be subject to having to testify under oath. That way we don't have an issue where when people come to speak about something that's personal to them, they have opted into the process. They don't have to run this fear.
So I think I hear what you're saying, but that same situation, I can come without you having asked me, but you might be somebody that I want to testify under oath. I can't do that because the rule. What I ask is this. we put things in place because we believe they're the right reason to do, and that's why we're putting this in place. We also looked across the country what some other states might do, and we can talk about that in some other areas. We move forward with some rules and regs that we have, in this case here, the rules of the Senate. I'd ask that as we look at this, should we move forward with it, that if there's an issue, we come back and revisit it and say, you know what, based on that, we need to change it. The rules are just like any other document. Right now, we're operating under interim rules, as our rules say. Once we pass the set of rules, they'll be in place. Not to say they can't be changed, but the likelihood, I haven't seen them change. Well, I guess we have looked at some changes over time. I'm not certain what those changes are, but we can at least move forward with setting the boundary conditions that we have and see how it works or doesn't work going forward. So, Senator 70.
On this topic, everybody's got a problem. Certainly the ACLU has a problem. My problem is every one of our committee chairs is going to be put into a position where they have to decide whether or not they're going to ask somebody to take the oath before they speak. Okay? And that's going to quickly get into a circumstance where they're going to have to explain why they chose me to take the oath, but not the next guy or the guy before me. And someone's going to ask that question, okay? And it becomes a transparency issue related to what does the committee know that everybody else doesn't know about a particular person, et cetera, et cetera. I do like the idea of making a blanket policy that if you are invited to speak by the committee, you come in knowing that you're going to be put under oath. Otherwise, it looks arbitrary. We could be accused of, capriciousness, picking winners and losers. I'm not going to testify because, you might put me under oath. That kind of thing. I don't know that it's not going to create a whole lot more problems than this really solves. I mean, this hasn't been a huge issue. There have been occasions, when it becomes clear that somebody wasn't forthcoming, I'll say. But by and large, the way the rule is currently written, I don't think gets us where we want to be.
Okay.
We want to be fair. We want to be open. We want to be even-handed. We want to be inviting as an organization so that people will come and testify. So if we're going to go down this path, I think we should define what exactly the criteria is. And I can't think of a better general policy than to simply say, if we've invited you, you'll be put under oath.
So appreciate what both Senator 70 and Senator Acosta, what you brought up with regards to the invite. So there's two things. I'll say by the very nature of posting, we are inviting everybody. And it's a generic sense because that's what the posting is doing. It's inviting, please come give us your testimony, either in writing or in person. This is really talking about in-person testifying. But the other piece that I'll bring to the table that I'm remiss not mentioning earlier, and folks that have been on finance will know about this. There's folks who were in the Senate for the last couple of years. And I think we spent some 25, 26 hours on the topic, give or take 5, so to speak. Probably more on the plus side than the minus side. We spent a fair amount of time on the, what we'll call the IGT contract, with regards to what do we do move forward in the next 20 years. Well, we had many folks, folks, hours of testimony where folks came up and testified that weren't invited, but testified and were providing factual information or data to us to use in our deliberations. Regarding the conversation as it relates to capricious and arbitrary, when a committee chair chooses to, at their discretion, she or he requests that a particular person testify under oath, By the very nature of doing that, they have rationale and a reason for doing it. So it makes no difference for why this particular department head or this particular quasi-public agency is asked to testify on a particular topic. So if we have a particular topic as it relates to a particular service that the state offers or provides, we are a hierarchical organization within state government. Not Senate, but in the state government. We have a governor, we have secretariats, we have department heads, etc. Some don't have secretariats. Well, we may have several folks coming to testify on a particular topic or issue. The particular committee chair will assess at that particular time who she or he thinks would be appropriate or need to testify under oath. That decision is going to get made. Some might feel it's capricious or arbitrary how it's done. That's for anybody to assess on have their perception, but there'll be rationale that committee chair will articulate or whatever they'll use to address that. So, other questions?
Well, yeah, Mr. Chairman, okay, I mean, you're right. When we put out an agenda, we are inviting everybody, but that's not really what we're talking about. So let's stick to the practical realities. The people who we might want under oath are people who we ask to come and speak on a particular thing. Everybody else, they just show up. Certainly in all of those examples that you mentioned, it would probably be in the best interest of the state to have those folks testify under oath. And if a committee chair is going to explain why they're making a decision to put somebody under oath or not, well, that's great, but the rules don't say you have to do that.
Correct.
So
It's a
put it in
discretion.
the rules.
It's a discretion of the chair. With regard, we'll go back to regards to the IGT in Twin River. They were solicited, I suspect, they were solicited, I can't say for certain, by their particular organization to say, we're going to be hearing, and we know we saw that because certain night we had one group in, another night we had another group in, and we had certain folks in across the spectrum from each of the particular organizations or sub-organizations that said, I'm here, I live here, I work for this, I'm here to testify on a particular topic. So it's working to, may have been appropriate to do that then. I don't know, but it's beyond just who we invite. And it's not the case where there's an expectation that, I don't want to lose sight, I don't think we are, there's an expectation I think we all have when individuals come to testify, they're testifying truthfully. I don't sit in any committee hearing I've been in where I expect anybody's testifying not truthfully to me. I think by putting this in, this will ensure folks that are coming to testify will testify truthfully, potentially knowing that this rule could be exercised. So,
And I agree with all that, Mr. Chairman. I really do. Okay, but I'm making a distinction between someone who we invite because they are going to come and speak in an official capacity as a representative of some entity that we are, in all likelihood, doing business with, depending upon for a service, whatever the case might be. That is different than a person who might be an employee of that entity or somebody else who just wants to come and speak their piece. There are distinctions to be made there, and I just, I'll leave it at this. In my opinion, this rule is immature and isn't ready to go to the floor to be voted on, this particular section.
Thank
So
you, Senator.
I'll just let it go at that.
Thank you, Senator. Other senators with questions, comments, concerns? Senator Acosta.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I want to talk about page 27, section 1010, and the addition that was not covered in your overview.
Senator, which section again?
Page 27, section 1010. This was a change from the previous iteration of the rules that was not covered in your overview. And
Section 1010 under decorum.
correct.
Yep, okay.
It's clear to me, at least from our last meeting, that it's unlikely that we'll all agree on the same definition of decorum. What is likely is that we can agree that where we get our definition of decorum and our own decorum for how we carry ourselves. It comes from a mix of how we grow up, where we grow up, our families, the things that we see, and really just the general environment in which we live. Now, I think it's important that we recognize that those frames become the filter through which we see the world. And the world that we live in is hyper-segregated along race and class. So, as you, Mr. Chairman, are a numbers guy, I want to just briefly touch on the environments and communities that we represent, the places that we spend the majority of our times, right? So you, sir, represent Middletown, a place that is just white, 6.8% Latino, and the median income is $74,000. Tiverton, 94% just white, median income $75,000. Senator 70 represents Bristol, 92% just white, median income $73,000. Fort Smith, 92% white, median income $100,000. Senator Archambault Smithfield, 90% white, median income $85,000. North Providence, 72% white, median income $57,000. Johnston, 85% white, median income $65,000. I can go on with the members of the committee. Now, I was born in Jackson Heights, Queens. 17% only white, 57% Latino, median income $57,000. Before I went to college at Brown, I was in Naranja in the southernmost part of Dade County, 5% white only, 59% Latino, 37% black, median income $38,000. I now live in and represent Central Falls, 20% white only, 66% Latino, median income $33,000. The world in which I live, where my worldview, where my definitions of decorum were created, are very different than the world in which you live, than the world in which our colleagues live. What we are inserting into the rules is a normative judgment about how people should dress, one that has very little to do with the act of legislating. I was not elected by the people of my community to wear a tie. I was elected by the people of my community to represent them in legislative matters. Now, we can agree that most of us reside in and interact in environments where people are like us. The dissimilarity index goes from 0 to 1. A 1 means you'd have to move 100% of the people in that community to make it more diverse. Most of us live in communities that are not diverse. And so our values, your values, are affirmed by the people around you and mine by the people around me. The places that we work are stratified by these same ethno-racial class nexus. And so the frame that you bring to decorum might be different than the one that I bring from decorum, but does not make mine any less valuable. Now, I could make a syllabus for people to read, for them to understand my worldview. We could have Du Bois, Amartya Sen, Frantz Fanon, Patricia Hills Collins to explain to you why this type of rule is so oppressive. Now, the way that we change the rule makes it even worse. I have nothing against the Senate president, but that we would bestow the judgment, the normative judgment on one white man for what any guest or member of the Senate can wear in our chamber is super inappropriate. And so I don't understand how we could have this rule implemented in our body. I was not elected to wear a tie or wear a blazer in order to legislate. I don't need that in order to legislate. Now, unlike most people in the chamber, I have spent time both in my life world and in the world of others. I have had dinner with presidents of other countries. I have been rubbing shoulders with the kids of millionaires. And I know that the way Habitus works makes it so that they don't see my lived experience. They don't understand my value system because they were never in it. So I have the rare opportunity to share this two-ness of walking in your world and in mine. And I have chose to reside physically in my own. But now I have to work in one where, once again, values that have nothing to do with my ability to do the job are trying to be shoved down my throat and any guest that I might bring to the chamber. That is absurd. Unless it is about safety, that we would be implementing this rule as a negative freedom. And I said this in my message to you, right? It's an important distinction that we make here because I respect your definitions of decorum. If decorum to you means wearing a tie, wearing a suit, wearing slacks, then by all means, exercise your positive freedom to dress that way. That is not what it means to me. That is not what I value. That is not what I was raised to value. That is not what the people in my community value. I never campaigned with a tie on. That was intentional. I look like the people in my community. That's probably in small part why they voted for me. And now what you're saying is that that's not good enough. That in order to sit in the chamber and vote on legislation that affects their lives, I have to put on a costume of something that I am not, of a history that is not mine. That is absurd and disrespectful to their choice. And so, by all means, exercise the positive freedom of habiting decorum the way that is appropriate for you. And please allow us the same. But don't make it a rule that people who don't have the same frame for decorum, that weren't socialized in that, feel less than and not be able to access your chamber. I should not have to sit here and tell you stories about being a 16-year-old boy who had to teach himself how to tie a tie on a YouTube video because no one in my family wore ties growing up. So I think this rule is inappropriate. I think we should remove the rule from this list and from these amendments, and I'd be happy to be convinced of the safety reason for why we should be policing attire in our chamber. Otherwise, I think we should completely strike it from the rules. Thank you.
Senator, thank you for your the input and from your perspective. Let me also articulate, I am not from Rhode Island. I am from Bridgeport, Connecticut, which looks much like Providence, Rhode Island. So while I represent District 12 and I've been here in my 38th year, I'm originally from Bridgeport, Connecticut, the largest city in the state of Connecticut, probably one of the most diverse in the state of Connecticut, after maybe Hartford and New Haven, but very much diverse, like the city of Providence, having been through that in the past. So just a data point of where I come from. With regards to, let me just talk to why I didn't go through that, because I said, to me it's a technical amendment, because if you look at section 10.13, and I'll read it for the viewers, so folks know what our current rules of the Senate are. Senate Rule 10.13, page 27, line 24, says appropriate attire required. All persons on the floor of the Senate, while the Senate is in session, shall be properly dressed, and the presiding officer shall enforce this rule by appropriate means. So this rule is not new. I suspect this rule has been in place for tens of years. I'm not going to say hundreds of years, because I haven't gone back to check on it. But we're talking, and I understand and appreciate who you represent and what you bring to the table, just like the rest of our 30, well, you and I are two, the rest of our 36 colleagues and the folks on this committee, et cetera. We are a legislative body. We are an institution in a respectful and general fashion. Pick respectful and general, however you choose, as your goalposts or boundary points for this discussion. We're an institution that existed for hundreds of years. There's certain expectations, there's certain decorums of legislative bodies. This is one of them. Our federal level, same level. I didn't go check to see whether they had it or not. But let me quickly articulate, because anybody knows me, I'm a facts and data person. The research that was done with regards to dress codes which exist in other assemblies. And I want to make a point of it to make certain we're all speaking the same language. Alabama, Alaska, Arkansas, California, Colorado, Connecticut, Delaware. In fact, Connecticut has a separate sheet just on decorum and dress code. Delaware, I said already, sorry. Florida, Georgia, Hawaii, Idaho, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, Maine, Massachusetts, Michigan, Minnesota, Mississippi, Missouri, Montana, Nebraska, Nevada, New Hampshire, New Jersey, New Mexico, New York, North Carolina, North Dakota, Ohio, Oklahoma, Oregon, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, obviously you might expect, South Carolina, Tennessee, Texas, Utah, Vermont, Virginia, Washington, West Virginia, Wisconsin, and Wyoming. I think with the little research that was done, there's about 23 states that I went through, and each of them have separated out a House and Senate. I can go through all the details. So we are not an outlier here. Could we be a leader? I think we are a leader with regards to what we've articulated here. But, yes, we do represent all of our districts, 27, 28,000, between 27, 28,000 individuals in each of our districts. Urban, rural, north, south, east, and west. Very diverse group. I think what I've articulated for the 23 states that I went through, those are pretty diverse. California, Utah, Alaska, West Virginia, Minnesota, Michigan, and if you've been out to Utah, much different than Rhode Island. New Jersey, probably similar to Rhode Island in some regards. Connecticut, Massachusetts, we have some interesting similarities between us with regards to our demographics and who we represent and who we don't represent. So we are not unique in this regard with regards to having decorum and a dress code. As it indicates in there, wanted to try and make it such that it's not prescriptive. There are certain states that call out exactly what you wear as this person or that person, this group of people or that group of people. We don't have that here. We know what proper attire is. We know there's an expectation of proper attire, and it says, comma, such as. It doesn't say this, and this for that group, or this, and this for that group. It's a such as to try and help people appreciate what might be appropriate over time. And norms change. Categorically, norms change. If my mom was alive, she'd be 101 this coming May. For her to have worn pants because she was born in 1920, I think the first time she wore pants, I couldn't imagine what it was. Didn't know what that meant. Well, guess what? I was born in 1961. I think I was probably maybe 10 or 11, if I can remember, or maybe a little older. Why? It wasn't the norm. We don't have that in here. As times change, things expand and contract. It allows that to happen as well. So that's the reason the language is there with regards to proper and appropriate attire for the body. And remember, at the end of the day, yes, you got elected, we all did, by our constituents, but we joined an institution, a deliberative body of government in the state of Rhode Island, that with it has rules and regs that come along with it. And this just didn't get made up this year. It's been in place for, like I said, years or tens of years or a number of years. So just before we go back, Senator, any other questions or comments before we go back to Senator Acosta? Any other members have questions or comments on that piece?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like just to, my own view on this is from a little bit of a different perspective. I spent half my life in the military, okay? I would suggest to anyone that demographic is pretty diverse across the board. And this was the circumstances where, you're not just talking to them, going to school with them and all that. You live with these folks. You depend on them to do their job because your life depends on them. You eat with them. You sleep in the same rooms aboard a ship, barracks when you're deployed. So I think I got a pretty good feel for what people think and what might make them feel bad and feel like perhaps you're disrespecting or not appreciating them. Okay? And this isn't that. I think everybody recognizes that we were hired by our constituents to serve a higher purpose, to serve democracy, and showing a little respect by dressing nicely. As far as I mean, pick how you want, but dressing nicely, to a national norm, if that's the right phrase, it's not a bad thing. I don't think that disrespects anybody. I don't think it makes them think less of you. I don't think it makes them think for an instant that you're not going to strongly represent their interests while you're in that chair making those votes. I like wearing a tie, probably because my daughter buys them for me at Christmas and my birthday, because that's all I ever get. All right, so I'm happy to wear a tie, but wearing a nice shirt and a jacket, I think is not too much to ask. My only concern with this particular rule change is somehow we have to communicate to everybody who wants to come to the State House and wants to be a part of the process and talk to their senator or representative on the floor, in the corridors, before and after session, that this dress code does not apply to them. I want the Moms Demand Action group with their red t-shirts to show up wearing those t-shirts. All the interest groups that have a reason or just a desire to come and be a part of the process, but they're not formally executing the process. I want it to be clear to them that we're not asking them to adhere to any kind of a dress code or a standard. That goes for people who come in to testify in committee hearings as well. Once again, as I said before, if you're in an official capacity and you've been asked for a specific reason to come testify, probably not a bad idea to look presentable and wear a tie or wear a jacket. But everybody else, come as you are.
Senator, right?
I don't want to lose that welcoming nature of our Senate floor before the bell rings and everyone has to leave. That's all.
Senator, great point. I concur. I think that's similar to the language we have now, but great point that needs to be communicated. And that's the expectation. We're not looking to drive the group that represents X, Y, and Z type of activity from wearing their paraphernalia to the State House so they're easily recognizable. The Senate President today or tomorrow or the past, in my 13 years here, others have spent more time, it's never been an issue. But we need rules to be able to follow rules. That's why this one's here. Senator Archambault, did you have a comment?
Thank you. I'm going to jump in on judiciary in a minute, so I'd like to get a couple of quick comments out, and I'm certainly going to come back and listen to the rest of the dialogue. But with respect to the decorum, we all have a different lens that we see life through, and the way we process social norms is entirely different from individual to individual. I don't even think, respectfully to my brother, Senator Acosta, I don't even think you can generalize it to individual regions. It fluctuates on a day-to-day basis depending on your life's experience, right? The vicissitudes, the ups and downs. And quite frankly, although I represent Smithfield, in Johnston in North Providence, I represent all the people of the state of Rhode Island. If you call me and you're black, white, red, yellow, I certainly don't discriminate. I try to treat everybody the same, and I'll help you if you call me for help. And I know that's how my brothers and sisters are up here who I serve with, because I've seen it in 10 years of being up here. So put that aside for a minute. When it comes to decorum, all I keep thinking about is the courtroom. I'm an attorney, and I'm in court 5 days a week, typically. And, you can't wear shorts to court. You show up in a pair of shorts, You're not going to get into the courtroom. It doesn't matter who the judge is, whether it's district court, workers' comp, superior court, they're not going to let you in because that's unacceptable decorum. So I'm not the fashion police. I wear a suit and tie 5 days a week, but if you were to see me when I'm not in my suit and tie, I'm in a farmer's coat, with a hat on, sometimes a couple of days shave, you wouldn't even recognize me. And I'm most comfortable there in my work boots and my jeans. So I'm not going to project any level of fashion on people in terms of what is acceptable, but I do think there are things that are unacceptable. And what's unacceptable? What's unacceptable would be, you wouldn't come to the Senate in shorts, right? You wouldn't come to the Senate in shorts. It just doesn't look professional. Whether you're a Republican or a Democratic president, you never see the President of the United States photographed in shorts, do you? And they won't even allow themselves to be photographed in shorts because it's less than professional. And that's even in living life. So there's got to be some standard. I'm not professing to hold that standard in my hand, but I think the standard should be one that promotes at least some level of, what's considered a respectable attire. And shorts wouldn't be that respectable attire. Now, I'll kind of leave it at that. I want to jump over very quickly, thank you, to the swearing people in under oath. I mean, my brother, Senator Savini, raised a good point about, not wanting to seem arbitrary is certainly not, no one up here I don't think would be capricious, but certainly not being arbitrary in how we have people sworn in under certain circumstances and not sworn in under others. You may not like my proposal. I think, quite frankly, everybody should be sworn in and put under oath when they come up before us. If you're going to come up and testify before a Senate body or a House body or any particular committee, I would think it's assumed that you're going to be telling the truth, right? That your veracity wouldn't be questioned. So, quite frankly, what's wrong with putting your hand up? Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God. I do. Boom. And then you're off to the races and you're testifying. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I do think the compromise of having the Senate chair decide whether or not to swear somebody in, I can live with that. I do understand Senator Savini's concerns. I get that some people may feel that they're singled out. But quite frankly, in the scheme of things, if you've got the intestinal fortitude, and we've had young people testify before the committee, we've had people in their early teens testify, I think, better than I've ever testified in my life. And I mean that sincerely, very articulately and to the point on whatever issue they've been talking on. If you're going to have the intestinal fortitude to do that, God bless you. That in and of itself is worth something. And I think it's pretty much, and we never want to assume in life, but it's pretty much accepted that you're going to be doing so truthfully, right? So I don't think there's anything wrong with putting your hand up and testifying under oath. I will tell you this. As a guy who's done close to 100 trials in court, and, I've been prosecuting, doing defense work, and I was a cop a long time ago. People lie to me all the time. And, there have been times up here in testimony, people are blatantly lying. And it's a tough pill to swallow. And you certainly don't want that coming from anybody in a higher level of authority because, we're here to elicit testimony so that we can be better legislators, right? So we can craft bills that help the people in the state of Rhode Island. So this isn't about trying to act in some fashion that means we're the end-all, do-all. It's just about having people testify honestly so that you can take that information and then maybe use it to help all constituents, regardless of their ethnicity, creed, race. Anyways, I've said enough. Thank you for listening to me.
Senator,
I appreciate it.
Senator, thank you very much. Much appreciated. Senator Coleman and Senator Acosta, I think you're maybe next.
Thank you. I just wanted to offer another brief comment on the issue of dress code from the perspective of a woman who has had her clothing policed for much of my life. I have no issue dressing in a way that is represents some sort of. I will wear whatever makes the shared community comfortable. I do think that the challenge for me in this language is about. I agree with Senator Savini around the guests. And I would suggest that we strike that guest because that is to me what makes the space inclusive. It's not about what I wear, it's about how we welcome the community of Rhode Island into the building that is theirs, in which the laws are made to talk to us, their representatives. And so that's my comment.
Senator, thank you very much. I do call while this is a variation on the theme, and if you look at, I won't reiterate it again now, but thank you for the comment, section 10.13, the previous 10.13, it talked to all persons as well in there. So it's, I think when we look at some of the rules, and we've all been a part of rules and bylaws in the past, we sometimes look at the extremes of what could happen or what might not happen. I think it's the case of the rules also are setting expectations of what we're expecting. But it's not setting hard and fast with regards to the guests, as we said. The guests are coming to us. It's the people's house. We expect them to be here to talk to us, to articulate, well, when we're back here anyway, to be able to communicate and share their ideas, their comments, their concerns, good, bad, or otherwise, on a particular topic. Meet with us to have a conversation about it. So it's meant to address things at the macro level, and it's not much different than what we had before. It provides a little specificity with the such as to give an example without saying it's this, this, and this. So, but thank you for the input. Anything else besides Senator Acosta? Back to you. Senator de la Cruz, then Senator Acosta.
Thank you, Chairman de Palma. When I look at the Senate and the rules for senators to dress a certain way, I know that some senators or some reps may feel like that's a form of oppression or a social construct that we shouldn't follow. But I don't think that those are true. It's not a form of oppression, and there are times in life, areas in the community in which you must dress an appropriate way. I grew up in a blue-collar family. Parents were factory workers. The only time I ever got dressed up was for Sunday church, and all my dresses were hand-me-downs. There is a time and a place for certain dress, I think, as senators, and all of us have, taken our photos for our campaign pictures, and I think we all look handsome, dapper, and beautiful. But I think that we should be dressing a certain way for our committee, out of respect for the office.
Senator, thank you very much. Much appreciated. Senator Acosta.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I actually want to thank fellow committee members for some of what they're saying, because it allows me to help make explicit what is so implicit in the way that we use language. So folks use expressions like professional, presentable, appropriate. What do those things mean in practice? What they mean is white collar, white Western dress. We know that, right? Like Senator de la Cruz just expressed that. Her parents were blue-collar workers, but on Sundays you wear white-collar clothes. So what I want to make sure you guys acknowledge on the record then is that this is a white-collar, white Western space. If that is what is necessary to be in this space, then that is what you were saying. Because even what Senator Archambault described in court, they are not going to let you in. The only function of this type of norm is to exclude. It is to say that which does not belong here. And in this presentation, or in this explanation of my colleagues of what does belong here, it is all stuff that connotes white collar, white people. If I were to adopt that costume, which I have in the past, in my first year teaching, I wore a shirt and tie every day. And I came to realize that what I was doing was reaffirming to all the black and brown poor kids that I was teaching that in order to be successful, you had to try to look and approximate whiteness as much as possible. And that is the message that you would be forcing down the throat of all the residents of Rhode Island. As I said before, you should be free to uphold your values of decorum when you come into the General Assembly, as should I. And I'm very interested in whether our Senate President feels comfortable calling out members of the public and our female colleagues and taking a vote from our members to expel them for not being dressed in a white collar, white Western, quote, appropriate way.
So Senator, I disagree with your commentary with regards to your broad categorization of a 4-inch paintbrush to describe it. That's your opinion. That's okay. We are, Senator, if I may. I was quiet when you spoke. Let's have a little decorum with regards to letting each other speak, otherwise we can't hear each other. We are an institution. We are a government body. We are a legislative institution in the state of Rhode Island with a rich history of tradition, regardless of whether we're Native American, African American, Latino, Italian American, Irish American, Polish American, Indian American, you name it. We are a melting pot of all America in the Rhode Island Senate, in the Rhode Island General Assembly. We do not distinguish between where someone comes from, where they are now, where they're going to be. We are all elected officials to the Rhode Island General Assembly, in this case here, the Rhode Island Senate. There's an expectation of decorum that legislative bodies have. That's just the fact of where we are and of who we are. It has nothing to do with class, nothing to do with race, nothing to do with creed, nothing to do with any of those other factors. We're a legislative body that has decorum, as I indicated earlier, and dress code exists in, I just named of 23 states. There's many more out there. I didn't go through all of them to articulate that. That's why we're here. Other questions, comments on the topic?
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Senate President.
First of all, Senator Acosta, I don't see anywhere in these rules where the word tie is mentioned. Secondly, I don't see anywhere in these rules where the word white shirt is mentioned. I don't see anywhere in these rules where you would be alienated from dressing in the same manner that everyone else dresses in the chamber. I'm sure you're an individual, you like your individuality. I'm sure your constituents don't mind it, but as far as the decorum in the Senate chamber, this has been the way it's been for before I got here, and that's been a while. So I'm not looking to constrain anyone. I'm not looking to take anyone's individuality away from them. What I feel is appropriate, and what many of the members feel is appropriate, is the appropriate dress decorum in the chamber while we are operating as a Senate body. What you do when you walk out of that building, I don't mind at all. I don't care if you take all your clothes off once you get out of the building and walk home. It doesn't matter, but I think it is appropriate, and I think it is offensive for people to be not dressed appropriately in this chamber, and that's my standard, and I've had a number of people who have spoke to me on this particular issue. Now, your second question, will I move to enact the rules once they're enacted upon? Bet the farm on it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, President. Other questions, other comments, other topics? I think we've exercised this one a little bit. Other questions and comments on the proposed rule? At this time, I'd like to entertain a motion to move.
Mute.
Senator President? Is that? I'd like to entertain a motion to move Senate Bill 336 as amended. SUBA, sorry, SUBA, not as amended, SUBA. I call on Senator McCaffrey for motion move as amended, the 336 substitute A. Is there a second? Do I have a second from Senator de Cruz? You on mute, Senator? Senator, you're on mute?
Hello?
Who's that? Leader Algier, seconded by Leader Algier.
No, we can't hear anything.
We can't hear you.
Senator Algier, is that a second by you?
Chairman de Palma, we cannot hear you.
Sorry, you couldn't hear me. I was calling for a second on the rules. I have Senator McCaffrey moving the rules. S33.
Second.
Seconded by Senate President. Jamie, can we, any other seconds?
Well, can I speak, Mr. Chair?
We have a,
I'm not.
we have a,
I mean, if we want a second on these rules, but I think this dialogue needs to go a little bit further.
so we have a motion on the floor. We have a seconded. The rules say we vote on the amendment. We vote on the rules.
Wait, So are we suspending any further dialogue just because this is second on the floor?
Go ahead. Who's speaking?
Well, I'm speaking right now, I hope.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
First of all, whatever just happened, I didn't hear any of it.
I will say it again. There was a motion on the floor made by Senator McCaffrey to move Senate Bill 336, Substitute A. The bill was seconded by President Ruggiero. I was calling a vote of the bill.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'll second it as well for further discussion. I'm not finished.
Go ahead.
Okay. The one thing we sort of went down, a long path on some of this other stuff, and I'm not suggesting it's not important, but the one thing that is important to me is a clear understanding of what our rules represent and how those rules support the relationship amongst us as a group of peers. And with the president and the leader, we have the first among equals, but we are equals, okay? And I wanted to get into at least a little bit of a discussion on better understanding of when the Senate President takes an adverse action on a member. We've got one section of the rules where it's very clear and due process is very well laid out related to disciplinary actions. I think that's very well done. The other place is when the Senate President, which as his due, changes a committee assignment without the permission of a member. Sorry, my dogs are barking. When that happens, it has to happen for cause. That's a change which I really appreciated the last time we revisited these rules. But as it stands right now, I would like to explore an understanding of what does that really mean, because it's not defined in our rules. I wanted it to be defined, but for whatever reason, it was not included in this change. Okay, fine, but I would like at least a discussion from the leadership. When we say for cause, to me, I'll make an assertion. To me, that means there's a valid, fair, justifiable reason for taking an action. And the Senate President, as our leader, is going to stand in front of the body and tell us, this is why I took this action. Is that what for cause means?
So, Senator, let me speak before the Senate President speaks or doesn't want to speak. As we've articulated in the past, cause can be a number of reasons. To articulate all of those and have a situation manifest itself, and this came about, obviously you were around when we changed these, I believe you were around when we changed it. The cause could be multiple reasons. With regards to the rationale or the reason why, we got to be cognizant that the reason may be public because we know about it. The reason may not be public, and it may be something such that the individual that's going from one committee assignment to another doesn't want that known. So we have to be cognizant that there's not one size fits all with regards to having to articulate the reason or rationale, because the individual may not want that known. And if you say, well, what's the reason? I don't know what that reason is, but if we are able to articulate what for all the cause things are, I'm not certain we'd be able to articulate every single one that would be a for cause situation that would end up in the rules, and then something enumerates itself, and it can't be done because of that.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I'm just asking a simple question, okay? It doesn't really require that complicated an answer. Is there a leadership obligation to explain the rationale behind a judgment that's made on another member of the Senate? You know, in those circumstances where it's adverse, where it's, I mean, we put the language in the rules
For a reason.
that the president could do this without the permission of the member,
Correct.
okay? And then we added the phrase "for cause."
Right.
And I just want to make sure I understand that as a member of this body, a collection of equals, I'm going to have the opportunity to understand why that adverse action took place. And yeah, there's plenty of other circumstances why that may not happen, in which case, if it were me, I would say, okay, well, I don't want this to be explained on the floor, so guess what? I consent to you moving. But in cases where that's not the case, I just want to understand that our leadership feels obligated to explain to the body why certain decisions, certain judgments were made. And the body has the opportunity to assess those leadership judgments. And that's it.
Okay, so our rules very explicitly do not call out the rationale for cause. That's very explicit in the rules that that is not there. If a member chooses to speak with the leadership, that could be possible, but our current rules do not include the provision that says for cause must be articulated. As I indicated, there could be a cause where that particular individual does not want that cause known. And putting that in there would require that cause to be made known when it's private between the individual and the Senate President, should that be occurred. In my
Mr. Chairman, can I also address this question, please?
Senate President.
I know Senator 70 has been around, and there were a couple instances where some members were removed from their committee. First of all, if you want to talk about the first one, the Finance Committee Chair, that was not my choice of chair when I came into this chamber, when I came in as Senate President. If you want to talk about two other senators, one senator, I believe, I asked him to resign for cause, and I think you know who the senator is. I don't want to get into names, but this rarely, if ever happens. There was just two instances that happened at a certain time, and it was uncontrollable. First of all, I am the one who appoints the members to the committee. Why would I remove the members from the committee? It just makes me look like I made a bad choice. So that is not something that dwells on my mind, who I'm going to go take off committees, regardless of what happens here. That is a rarity as far as I'm concerned. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator.
Any questions from anyone?
Thank you, Senator President. Senator, then we have a motion on the floor, yes. Senator Acosta.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a question for what you set up there as a response. If the member didn't want the cause disclosed, wouldn't that in some ways make it at least tacitly voluntary? And so I actually think that the Senate President did a good job explaining the previous removals, and it seems like those causes were actually pretty public, so people knew what they were. And so I guess I support Senator Singh trying to glean a little bit more information on, were they less public that, would the senator that was removed acknowledge that they had consented to the procedure, or, in the cases where it was a very public situation that everybody could tell this was for cause, it happened, so there's no need for the Senate President to have compassion. I guess I also just want more clarity on this issue.
I think the description has been made with regards to what the Senate President articulated of the two incidences there. We have to be cognizant of, like, as you said, in Senator Acosta, those that are public will know. Those incidences that are public, we will know about. There could be instances where it needs to happen because the particular topic is private. And while we may want to know, and Palace Intrigue may want us to know, there could be instances where the situation that manifested itself is the cause for it to happen that the individual does not want to happen, and that's what results. So we may not like that answer, but as the Senate President indicates, and between the Senate Majority Leader and the Senate President who have been here a good number of decades, in my 13 years here, it's only happened like a couple times. There have been, so it's the case where we're potentially looking at something that's may happen, might happen, has never happened yet for not cause, but the ones that we have seen for cause, people will look at it and say, yep, I understand, next, right? It's not been the situation where that one was done and the cause, oh, I don't agree with that cause. Well, you may not like it, you may not agree with it, but there's a rationale for why it was done, that's all. And I think we can go back in time, others might want to go back in time longer to identify other times when this has occurred, and I'm not going to certain you're going to find any. So.
Well, Mr. Chairman, let me say a couple of things. First, nobody respects President Ruggiero's judgment more than I do, okay? And this isn't about any particular instance. This is just a general observation that if we're going to have a rule that says you're going to do something, then you should be able to explain or to articulate what does that mean? What does that mean to everybody, to the entire body? And all I'm looking for is there, with that phrase, for cause, an obligation to explain to the body when something happens, and it's not the circumstances like that were just articulated. It's simply a decision was made for whatever reason, and the body doesn't know why. And the leadership, in my view, has an obligation to explain and to not necessarily justify, but at least articulate, this is why I took this action to the body. That's all I'm looking for.
Okay, thank you, Senator. And as I indicated, the rules do not require that. It's not included in there. It just says for cause. That's what the language says. So,
But with no articulated meaning to it. That's my problem, Mr. Chairman.
the cause is identified, or it states cause. It's got to be between the Senate President and the individual will be determined. And as we indicated, we've not seen an issue of this manifesting itself over any period of time. In any of the Senate.
Okay, all right.
Okay?
That's,
Thank you.
all right.
So we have a motion on the floor that's been moved and seconded. Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Chairman de Palma.
Yes.
Senator Seveny.
No.
Senator Coleman.
Yes.
Senator Acosta.
No.
Senator Archambault. Senator Archambault.
I'll get him back, Jimmy.
Senator Archambault. Senator de Cruz.
Yes.
Senator Lombardo.
Yes.
Leader Algier.
Yes.
Leader McCaffrey.
Yes.
President Ruggiero.
Yes.
Can you just, I think Senator Archambault may be back from Judiciary?
Senator Archambault.
Okay, thank you.
7 in favor, 2 opposed.
Thank you, Jamie. The motion passes 7-4, 2 against.
Jamie,
Up.
Senator Cohn here, yes.
Oh. Senator Chacon.
My apologies, Senator. I did not see you.
Okay.
That doesn't change the outcome, Senator. 8 in favor, 2 against. The bill will move to, we report it out and move to the floor. I want to thank everyone for their time tonight. Thank you for your invaluable feedback, commentary, and questions. And at this time, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion made by Senator Seveny, seconded by Senator de Cruz, and thank you. We need a roll or no? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you, everyone. See you tomorrow night. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Thank you.